Okay, so Dee Dee, you wrote to me an email, okay, and you were talking about having some difficulties connecting with unseen therapists. That's what you said in your email. But you were focusing on the idea of forgiveness. Your mother recently passed away, but you have a number of forgiveness issues with both your mother and your siblings, sisters. I have that right?
Brothers also. At the time I wrote the email, I didn't realize that it's now it's like all five of them.
Oh, okay. All five siblings.
Yes.
Oh, all right.
My mom actually, I don't feel like I have issues with my mom. It was an interesting experience going through it. I had already started the process a couple of years ago, and when we first met, I was more working on early issues of the feelings of not having a mother. And then as I accepted it and got through the anger with my mom, I still thought possibly those issues were there. And so I wanted to kind of look at that. But with all this happening with her passing and the way I was with her and I took care of her, had hospice at my house, it was a very beautiful experience. I was with her just when she passed. And it was a very peaceful, I would change it for the world. It was just the most peaceful experience ever. Anything about my mom, the anger, everything's gone.
Well, now, one of the things we talked about prior to this recording was that you've been one of our students in our advanced course for a while. You haven't been able to get into it with everything you'd like to yet. So you're doing it kind of piecemeal and so on. But you have worked on some of these things with your mother with our course. Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm going to go close this door, Gary.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay. So anyway, you worked on those things with your mother. I don't know if you're able to discern this or not, but I remember you and I worked on some stuff once upon a time as well, a few months ago and so on. But the fact that your mother passed and you had this beautiful experience and you seem to have a lot of forgiveness going on, was any of that, as far as you know, contributed to by your past work with our course and your mother?
Possibly, yes. There hasn't been a lot of time to think about stuff. It's so recent. She passed on the 11th of September.
That's about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, possibly, yeah. Gary. Yes, because we did our session a while ago, a few months ago, and yeah, there probably was some, I would have to say, because even when I worked with Anne, it just the intensity just wasn't there. As far as I didn't really feel like, oh, I got to keep on this issue. I've got all this stuff with my mom. I didn't have that feeling.
Okay.
I felt more, where the things that would normally bother me about her, talking to her, I didn't judge her anymore. It'd be more like a smile would come on my face. Like, oh my gosh, that's just my mom. And I didn't have the pain of not feeling loved, because it was more like, where's my mommy? It was always like, mothers are usually that, oh, honey, this or honey, that. And how'd that go? I never had that.
Yeah.
So I was like longing for that. And I just so possibly, yes, Gary, I mean, it could have played a part.
Well, one of the things I have to point out, and I don't really know because I'm not you and I don't walk in your shoes and this kind of stuff, but I just want to explore this with you, because we're going to go a similar direction with your siblings. Okay. But a lot of times the results that occur with unseen therapists are very powerful, yet they are so subtle we don't even notice them. If I'm remembering correctly, you had a big time issue with your mother.
I did.
big time.
Yes, and I took notes too. I don't have to look at them now, but yes, I did. I had a lot. I had so much anger. Anger for years, and so much pain. Where I'd go to visit her, and it was so painful leaving. I'd always cry on the way home, and then that came to the point where I can't even go see her anymore because it's too painful. Because I don't have a mom. We didn't fight or anything like that. It was just this feeling of I don't have a mom.
Okay, now if I'm hearing it right, work that you and I did, and with Ann Ryan, which you talked about, she's one of our advanced students and so on. If I'm hearing it right, all of that intense stuff about your mother has tended to fade by the time you got to her passing. This is what I'm hearing. The door was now open to have this beautiful experience because the difficulties had faded. Now, I don't want to put words in your mouth. That's just what I'm hearing. Does it seem right?
Well, it had started like even before I started Unseen Therapy, before I joined, I had already started the process of it. But then I've worked on it since, like by myself, and then with you a little bit. But for me, it's like I was expecting, like you say, you're not going to get all these bells and whistles. I was expecting that, even though you tell us not to. I still thought it's not working for me. This isn't working for me. I feel nothing. I didn't change. I still have insomnia. I still went through all the things. I still have and I just thought it just doesn't work for me. So, what can I say? It's you want this, like this big experience. Like you want it to just be gone. Like, okay, I go to sleep every night and I don't wake up for 8 hours. That's not true.
Okay.
So I judge it.
Oh yeah. And what you want is all of this immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to do any work on it or a little piecemeal here and there. I want to do a thing or two and then it's all gone.
And I want it now. And
I want it now.
So then anger really plays a big part.
Yeah. I want it now. Yeah. Doesn't work for me. Although what I'm hearing is you had a rather substantial fading of very substantial mother resentment, anger, etc.
Yes.
Over time.
It's completely gone. It was completely gone. I took care of her completely.
Okay. But it didn't hit you with bells and whistles all of a sudden. No,
not at all.
Hollywood moments. Sometimes that happens, by the way, but I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah.
And that's to put in perspective the door we're going to walk into here having now to do with your siblings and so on. Okay. So without getting into details at the moment about the siblings, I want to ask you something. When you start thinking about their behaviors or your resentments about them or whatever's been going on, can you get to what if you really dwelled on it? What number on a 0 to 10 scale would you get? I think I already know the answer.
It's a 10. It's a 10.
It's a 10. Okay.
10 and higher.
10 and higher. Okay. Yeah. I mean, your posture changed and your breathing changed, and with
Did it?
With them. Yeah. Well, it's pretty obvious. Go look at the
darn it.
video. Okay. When I send it to you. Okay. So anyway.
Yeah, we got to clear that out. Let's get rid of that.
We're going to do what we call a good start. Okay.
Yeah.
That kind of thing has typically lots of past foundation to it. Mm-hmm. And probably the current activities, current statement is bouncing off of something unresolved a long time ago. Okay. Well, we'll explore that some, but I want to ask you something else first. Okay. We're eventually going to bring in Unseen Therapists. Okay. But we want to put as much on the table for her as we can. The more we can put on the table, the more we can reframe some things and start looking at it through different glasses and so on. the more effective unseen therapists can be, because that means we're willing to let go of more things and so on. So let me ask you a question. Without getting into details about who said what, where, the behaviors and all of that.
Okay.
I want to talk about only your current response to all of that. It's a 10. Okay, I got it.
Yep.
All right. Now, the question I want to ask you is, does that your response to all that's going on costing you?
Yes.
How does it cost you?
They are distancing themselves from me. Or possibly I'm doing the distancing. They've chosen a side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask my question differently. Okay. What does that mean to you in terms of cost? Does it cost you love? Does it cost you health issues? What does it cost you in that sense?
I think that the fear of it is that it will cause a health issue because of the anger. So I pretty much know how that works. If I'm holding this anger, it's going to affect my liver. It's going to affect different parts of my body. And so
yeah, go ahead.
So, the love affecting, you asked me about love. Is it affecting love? Well, I don't necessarily think I get love from them either. So I don't know about the love. I think it's probably I'm more worried about the physical of it if I can't let this go.
Well, let me explore love here for a moment. If I can, all of us we look for, pursue love in its various forms. Something is, the romantic love, yes, but the applause, acceptance, compliments, warmth, affection, touching. There's lots of different doorways that we look at for love. Okay. Now, if you have not experienced love with your siblings over time, then in one sense, you're not losing anything. Am I saying that right?
Yeah. Yes, it's more kind of the love that in my whole family, the love is kind of an odd love. We've always been together. It almost feels like a tribe. Like we stick together, but it's kind of surface stuff.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, and many families have that to one degree or another. It's just this is not unusual. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I want to explore with you on the love issue is, here's little Dee Dee, born long time ago. Okay. And like every other little child, you seek love. Now, apparently mother was not a great source of that. Everything was surfacey. Your siblings the same way. And so you're seeking it, but not getting it. How am I doing?
That's true.
Okay. And we want that. So we pursue it other places. Okay. We pursue it with a romantic partner, maybe, or there's lots of ways. We get a pet. There's lots of other ways to help fill that gap. But the family gap is a fairly big gap if I'm hearing it.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So that's the kind of thing. Now, always correct me if I'm wrong, because I have to put things together because I don't know everything about your world like you do.
Yeah.
But that's the kind of thing that starting in childhood, young ages, we develop we may not use this term. Okay, I'm going to use it here, but we develop some kind of resentment about it, some kind of anger about it, some kind of, I want that and I can't get it kind of response to that. What's wrong with me? I'm not lovable. Some anxiety, to use your terms. Is this on target?
Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. So what I'm exploring here is that while your siblings' current behavior is things they say that gives you a 10 is likely bouncing way back off of something, a something way back when, okay? I see you nodding your head.
Yes, I'm sure there's a lot of things way back when. I don't know. Yes.
Okay. So let's get back to my previous question about what it's costing you. So you said, yes, love, but maybe not so much because you never had it to begin with, but I wanted to explore that some. It's like not having it much of it to begin with, a surfacey kind of thing is a is a cost.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
And then there's the physical things. Now, I don't know if you and I discussed this before, but one of the things that any doctor will tell you this, by the way, if you're carrying around, even subconsciously, anger, resentment, guilt, fear, all these negative emotions, your system literally creates a cascade of negative, my term, simplified term, negative chemistry in your body.
Yep.
Your adrenaline goes out of balance. Your cortisol goes out of balance. There's hundreds of repair mechanisms, chemical equations in your body, go awry. Your immune system's got to go do something with that. Otherwise, you're in trouble. And so it shows up as things like physical stuff, including insomnia, by the way, which is, you can call it physical or emotional, whatever. It manifests all this stuff. The point is that the resentments that you currently have, justified or not, are costing you.
Right.
Now, don't just go along with me.
Oh, no, I'm with you. I would never just go along. I'm with you 100%.
Okay. So let's be theoretical for a moment. If you could just let go of all that resentment, that would be freedom, would it not?
Yes, it'd be awesome. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. Something like, if I'm hearing this, I forgot the word you used. You were talking with your mother. She was passing and you had this beautiful experience with her. But it was like, these aren't your words, but you give me your words. But to me, it was like, oh, it all went away. Oh, all the resentment, it didn't need to be. There was a freedom there with my mother. You didn't say those words, but it was something like that. Describe what happened. Describe what happened. Could you?
You mean the actual, when she passed, or just like this,
the scenario,
how it started? Well, because just went, go ahead.
What I'm looking for, it's hard to interrupt you, Dee Dee, but what I'm looking for is somewhere along this hospice scenario was this release of your resentments for her. Somewhere in there. Did I say it right? Release? Did I say that right?
Yes. And it the whole process actually felt that way. From her going to the hospital and just everything was just from my heart. Like there was no thinking about anything else. There was no, what else do I have to do? Oh, I have to give this up to take care of this. I just went into action, and I took care of her, and I took the hospital, which she had to go to a home care. It was like all this crazy process went on, and my brothers and sisters were just in la la land, like normal. And I don't really care about that, even though that's, for me to say that pisses me off. It really doesn't, because I wouldn't change it. I wanted to be the one. I'm happy that I was the one. And so that for me to have that thought is like, why am I thinking that? I don't care that they weren't there. But yet I have this other anger for them, I guess, that's making me feel that way towards them. But with my mom, go back to my mom. So then when I brought her home, they said, no, it's going to be too much. And I said, it's not too much. I'm doing it. And I just took control the whole time. And normally I don't do that with my brothers and sisters. I've always kept my mouth shut. Brought her to my home. She was only here a couple of days, and nobody else would she didn't want anybody. My older sister, who's a nurse, my mom didn't want anybody, wouldn't take anything. Nothing. But then when I was with her, she did everything I wanted to. Like if I needed to give her something, and she didn't see well, she wasn't speaking, but she was letting me do whatever I needed to do to help her. Like she'd accept the pill, she'd accept everything. So the whole process with her and I, in that unspoken word, just the love that was there, it was palpable. Like, you know, it was, and I could just sit with her, and I wasn't in tears and upset about it. I was very peaceful. And when she passed, so I took care of her the night before. And then when I said, I'll get a couple hours sleep. And so I went to go to sleep. Maybe I woke up 6:45. I said, oh, let me just go in. She was like the room right next to me. I went in, and I could tell she was just very peaceful. And I still was at peace. And so I sat next to her bed. And then my niece was in the room, and she sat next to me. And within 2-3 minutes, she waited for the two of us, and we were the two caregivers. Everybody else was gone. She passed. And it was just I just knew that where she was going, she was happy and peaceful, and that I was peaceful.
Yet, if I got it right, Dee Dee, there's a long history, decades-long history of lots of anger about your mother's behavior,
Yes.
abuses and criticisms and things like that. Yes?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. My whole life. And I just wanted her, the reason I wanted her home, and it wasn't even for me, Gary, when I had told the doctors, she's coming home. She's coming home to me. And it was not about me. It was about her. Because the way she went in the hospital, no one was allowed to see her, that whole thing that's going on now in our world. And it was important to me for her to feel love. But yet it gave me the same thing.
Yeah.
But that wasn't why I brought her home. I brought her home for her.
Yeah.
And it was so beautiful.
Yeah. There's a shift. There's a shift along the way. From anger to release, from anger to freedom, from anger to love.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hearing that.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking about that. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice if we could have that shift with your siblings?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's a tough one.
Well,
I thought about that, though. I have to say this morning, Gary, I did think about that. I thought, okay, I did it with Mom. It took many years, but I did do it with Mom.
Well, see, the real issue, let me be teacher for a moment. Okay. The real issue isn't what your mother did, said, etc., to you over the years. The criticisms, the abuses, and that seems like the real issue. My mother did this, and okay. The real issue from our point of view, from the healing point of view, is your response to it. Okay. Your response to it was anger, anxiety, big time. Let me ask you this. When you were having these peaceful moments with your mother, hospice time, passing time, etc., if you can recall, how was your anxiety?
I didn't have any. Now that you're asking me, I didn't have any.
All right. It wasn't there. It wasn't there. And don't let me impose things. This is my view. Okay. It wasn't there because the cause was gone.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, I didn't think about it till now that I didn't have anxiety, but yeah.
Okay. Well, and that's a reframe for this purpose here. But the idea is if we can get to this peaceful release, kind of let the anger go, there goes the anxiety because there is no cause for it.
Mm.
If we're running around saying, now I'm going to get to my brother and my sister and whatever, and how dare they, and all that stuff, that's expensive.
I know. And I was thinking, damn, this was like such the best experience ever with my mom. I feel so peaceful. Here's my mom passing. I'm so peaceful. And if I didn't have what just happened with my sister mainly and everybody, everything would be kind of nice right now. Like I people are saying, oh, I'm so sorry, which is nice when someone passes, but I don't have that. Like when my dad passed, it was different. It was a different experience as far as, I was more in the crying and the, oh my gosh, where now I have a different experience because where she's going, I have a different understanding of everything.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So what would it take? You've probably never been asked this question, so just do your best with it. Okay. What would it take for the same kind of release to occur regarding your sisters, siblings, and so on?
I don't know. I don't think I know.
Well, guess for me.
Yes. What would it take? Maybe there's 5 of them. So maybe for them to call me and ask me how I'm doing or ask me what happened rather than pick a side and not even talk to me about it or, ignore me.
All right. So in what you just said, I'm going to spit this back at you and then you always correct me, please. What you just said is in order for me to feel better, have this release, have this love and so on, they have to do something.
I know. Yes, I did say that.
Well,
it's true. When you put it that way, it's like, that sounds so stupid.
not my words, dear. Not my words. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a useful reframe, by the way, because you just said my perception about all this is stupid. That's what you just said. Did you not?
Yes, I did.
You get some kisses, okay?
Oh. Yep. That's what I did.
Okay. I still don't know the details about what your siblings did, said, and so on. Okay. Except that they're just kind of aloof, they're in la la land. They're just not wanting to be involved and it's all yours to do. And okay. Now, how am I going to answer this? I want to explore this some. Let's pick out one thing about one sibling. You need not mention names or anything like that. Okay. One thing that stands out to you that if this was corrected, you would feel better. Okay. So just give me an instance, a specific event, if you will. Okay.
Oh, specific event. You want me to tell you about the event?
Sure.
There's so many details to it, but so many shorten it. So everybody was here. My mom had passed and the brothers and sisters were all in my home. And an issue came up about money, a large amount of money that my mom had in her place, a hiding place, I guess she had, which only 2 siblings knew about. I didn't know about it. And just my 2 brothers. And we were discussing it. There was an issue with one of the people that worked there where my mom lived, and maybe possibly he was in her apartment. We had this big conversation about, oh, did he take it? And my one sister said, well, I didn't know about it. The sister that lives in my mom's complex, the supposed caretaker of my mother. So the incident, we were talking about the headstone. I'm going to shorten this. We were talking about my brother brought up my dad's headstone and said, I've never really cared for the headstone. I want to get a new one. I'm leading up to the big thing. I want to get a new one. And we all kind of said, yeah, that would be nice. And the one sibling, my sister, said, I don't know why we're going to change it. That came from the army. I want to keep it. And so my brother said, you can have it. You can have it. And I said the same thing after he said it. She goes, you can have it. I go, yeah, you can. She was right next to me. And I go, yeah, you can have it. Yeah, you can have it. And she goes, well, that's a smart ass thing to say. And I said, oh, I meant it. Oh, no, you didn't. That's a smart ass thing to say.
Well, you were the one that said this?
Well, my brother said it first. He's the one that
Okay.
brought up the tombstone. And he
Okay.
said, I've always wanted to change it. And we all kind of agreed. And Becky, she didn't agree. And which is fine. I wasn't mad at that. It's fine. And so my brother said, well, you can have it. Meaning he meant it, right? And I go, yeah, you can have it. And so she gears it, but only to me, she says, that's a smart ass thing to say. And I said, no, I mean it. You can have it. Oh, no, that was a smart ass thing to say. Said it again. So that it kind of ended at that. But then she was going to leave, and she had taken a gold bracelet, the little bit, another part of it too. They had brought all this stuff over from my mom's house, and it was on my dining room table, and my sisters were going through it. And I had gone over to the table and asked them, can you guys please wait and not do this right now? I wasn't up for it. My mom had just passed. They not only did they keep going, they ignored me. So I go back, do my thing. A few minutes later, they kept going, and then they start throwing things away, things that they think is not important. I go back over, I go, please, you guys, can you please stop? Ignored me again, which is typical in my family, kept doing it. So it's building up in me, right? So now my sister puts on a gold bracelet. I could care less about this gold bracelet, but it's the fact that now she's going to take it home. So when she's leaving, this is so out of character for me. I come around, and she's getting ready to leave. And I said, I go, what's that? And she goes, oh, I'm taking it home to see if I want it. She goes, I asked everybody. And I go, you didn't ask me. And she goes, and not one person stood up for me. When I found out later, she didn't ask anybody. Not one person, Gary, said a thing. She goes, you didn't ask me. And this was so out of character. I go, I can't really use the word on this, but I said, get the F out of my house. And I said, and then she just looked.
You just said the word, but go ahead.
I know.
Get the F out of my house. Keep going.
Yes. And then I said, you owe me an apology. And I would have accepted the apology, and it could have been over. I go, you owe me an apology. And she says, you owe me an apology. And I go, for what? I was telling you could have it. And then she went on again, and I said it again, get that out. And this is how weird my family is. Nobody says anything. She leaves. Nobody says anything. So I said to my brother, I said, did she ask you? And he goes, no. So nobody, here she lies. How did she get away with a lie in front of everybody, and they're believing her when they were here in real time?
And ignoring you.
And ignoring me, and continues to ignore me.
Yeah.
At the funeral, I sat by myself. But I didn't, it's such a weird thing that I've lived my whole life. It's just more obvious now.
When you are ignored, and correct me if I have this wrong, okay? That is a way of saying you don't count. I don't love you. You're not lovable.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't do well with that.
Right. Okay. And that, from what I'm hearing, is a centerpiece response. Mm-hmm. A centerpiece response. Yes, they're in your view, they're in la la land. They don't pay attention, and then they lie to you, and nobody stands up for you, and you get ignored, and you just don't matter in there. You aren't loved. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's a lot, huh?
It's a lot if you see it as a lot.
Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Okay.
And we're going to go in that direction. We're going to try to get a good start anyway at unloading that. Because see, this is the behavior of somebody else, your siblings in this case. Okay. They are raised in a family with a mother, and etc., where the emotions are surfacey. Okay.
Yeah.
And for whatever the reason, you, at least you feel, that's the important part, ignored. Okay. They may get together on some things, but you won't be part of it. You aren't acceptable. You aren't loved. Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now. Yeah. And then there's just one other thing I want to bring up that I found out later. So here, nobody asked me why they're here, right? Oh, there is actually two things. My other sister who ignored me over at the table, after my other sister left, she said something to apologize. Well, she said, I said, well, Connie, you guys just kept going and you just ignored me. And so she's playing her game, Gary, and she just goes, I'm sorry. Doesn't look at me, her head's down. I'm sorry. And I never would have done this before. And I look at her and I go, wow, that's believable. And I start to walk away. Now my sister's very cold, extremely cold. This was shocking to me. I walk away. She gets out of her chair. She stands up and she looks at me and she goes, Dee Dee, I'm really sorry. Shocking. And that's real. I mean, that was just really shocking. So I said, that's all I wanted. And then we hugged each other, which she doesn't do either, for a very long time. And it was like it dissipated because it was in the moment. So a good thing happened right after that really bad thing with her. But then I found out my two brothers went home after they left my place and they drove over to my sister's house to console her because, poor, she got kicked out of the house. But nobody asked me, like, what caused that? Why did you say that? What happened?
Yeah. Okay. Let's shift for a moment. Something I think would be useful exploring reframing and this kind of thing. Why would your siblings want to be so surfacey, so, my term, guarded, so not into the love one would like to think a family would have? Why would that be?
Because they don't feel love. They don't feel love either.
All right. And perhaps, and I'm guessing, but perhaps they're raised by a mother and a father who weren't really good at doing that. Right. And so as they learn to be surfacey, they learn to be aloof. It's a way to get around the world that they learned to do. It doesn't make them good, bad, or otherwise. That's just what they learned to do. You learned your own version of that. Maybe yours is more mature than theirs. That's very possible. Okay. But they have a reason for it. There's a cause for it. They learned correct me, please. This is what I'm seeing. Not even knowing them, but they're learning, I'm not really lovable either, but I can't let anybody in. And I can get around this world by being surfacey, by being not involved, by lying, by ignoring, by somehow or other elevating myself at others' expense, like Dee Dee. How am I doing?
Well, the only thing about that is, on the one hand, they say, I'm not getting involved, but they are getting involved because they've picked another side. They picked her side by going over to ask her, oh, are you okay? We feel so bad. What about me? You didn't do that with me.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay. All right.
So that's the only part that I could see if they completely did stay out of it, but they don't. They say they're not going to, but then they do actually.
All right. Now, we're not trying to excuse the behaviors of your siblings. This is important to recognize in this. We are trying to understand them because that goes a long way towards forgiveness and the release and the peace. Okay. Your sister who lied about the bracelet apparently wanted the bracelet. She's going to take it home and see if it fits. But these are ego things that I'm hearing. Everybody is looking out for themselves in their own way. That, by the way, is something we could label almost everybody, including those listening in. I see a nodded head. Is that a big time nodded head?
No, I mean, I know what you're saying, but I guess the thing is my history with her, that's typically who she is, where I don't care. Like when the stuff came in, I didn't care about the stuff.
Well, you care about being ignored.
I care about being ignored, and it bothers me. I don't know why it bugs me that she's like that. Like she has to like have everything and do everything where I don't even want it. That's what I was telling you earlier. Why do I care when I don't even want it?
Right. All right. You, like everybody else, are trying to search for a way to get through this world. Okay. And like me, like everybody else, you're looking for love. You're getting ignored. You're going to find your own ways to do it. And one of those ways is to get angry about those who don't love you. Okay.
Oh, and that works well.
Yeah, that's a good reframing comment. Okay.
Yes.
Because the more you do that and get angry about those who,
yes,
my term now, aren't really capable of giving you the love you want. You're nodding your head. I don't want
yes. No, very true. Yes.
They're not capable.
Yes.
Okay. Now let me ask you this. Reframe. Okay. If you went up to a rock, and said, "Rock, give me some water. I want some water right now. Give me your water."
That's silly.
And the rock goes, ignores you. Okay.
Yeah.
No water coming from the rock. Okay.
Yeah. I hear you.
And you want to get upset about that, you can do it. But see, if you get upset at your siblings wanting love, lack of being ignored, another way to say that, okay, and they don't know how to give it.
Yeah.
That's a little stupid. Sorry.
No, yes, I understand. I have to reframe it, like you said, and look at them that way. I'm trying to get from them what they're not capable of giving me.
That's right. That's right. That's not, by the way, at least in my perception, a criticism of them.
Right.
They haven't developed the ability to do that. Now, all of us have a impaired ability to do that in this separated illusion of a world that we're in. All right. You have it, I have it, we all have it to different degrees. Your siblings, at least compared to you, are hurting a little bit in that area. To be well, let me say that you didn't talk about this with your mother, but I'm gathering somewhere in this shift with your mother from all the anger, the abuses and criticism and stuff to this peaceful place. There was this letting go. Well, you're nodding your head. Tell me if.
Yes. Well, I must have, and it's something that you can't even, it's not like you can think about it, or it just happened. I just realized it. Not so, even I guess while I was doing it, nothing, I didn't have any judgment of her. I didn't have any, I got to do this, I got to do that. I couldn't do enough. It was just, and it's interesting because I didn't really notice it as much as my niece watching me noticed it. She said something to me later.
Okay.
She said, I am just amazed at what I saw. And so it was kind of, that helped a little bit for me to see it because I don't always see that.
Okay. Now I'm imagining your mother being someone who, I think we talked about this, but in her background didn't have a lot of love coming in. That's why she wasn't able to give it out very much. But somehow or other, I'm hearing with this last stage of her life interface with you, she's now picking up love. Somebody's taking care of me. Despite everything that I've done.
Yeah.
Somebody's taking care of me.
Yes.
Now, she is somehow or other accepting, experiencing love. Now, my question to you is, it's kind of a broad question for your siblings. If your siblings, well, let me ask it this way. Would I be correct in assuming that the biggest need your siblings have would be love?
Yes.
If they all were loaded with love, would they behave the way they behave?
I would say no.
Okay.
Probably not. I can't imagine.
All right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's a little reframing kind of thing in there. Okay. Well, I think we might be ready for Unseen Therapists. What do you think?
Yes, please.
Well, you said before this recording, you might, be a little cloudy in the head or something, but you seem to be very on point here.
Okay, good. Yep.
All right. Well, all right. So let's just bring an Unseen Therapist here. I'm going to be listening to her and weaving whatever I weave. It won't be me so much as it's her sort of conducting the orchestra. Okay. But it's going to be easy for you. All you have to do is just close your eyes and follow along. Okay.
Yes.
And so let's do that. Let's just see where this goes. Okay. So close your eyes and then take a nice, deep, relaxing breath. And just as a way of inviting Unseen Therapists, just recall some simple, loving moment in your past and nod your head whenever you're there. All right, good. Okay. That recalling a loving moment is a nice way to invite Unseen Therapists. What we're really doing is just, as best we can, trying to align with the pure love that is Unseen Therapist, the pure love that showed up with your mother eventually, the pure love that we would like to bring more of to you so you can stand back and rather than be angry and resentful at your brothers and sisters, you can accept the way they are, how they are, because they need your love, not your anger. In fact, you need your love and not your anger. These things are expensive. So we're going to go back to a specific event in your world. One I think you told me was a 10 before I even finished talking about it. And that's the idea of your sisters, one of them saying, that's a smart ass thing to say, and then being ignored. All of that. Okay. And so we're going to shift our focus back to that time. I'm getting a nudge from Unseen Therapists to go a little different direction here. So just bear with me. This thing about your sister and that's a smart ass thing to say, and being ignored has a foundation. She or your other siblings may not have said that or things like that, but you were ignored for a long period of time from way, 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 way back. Would I be correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So the foundation is way, way back then. The current thing about that's a smart ass thing to say is something more current, but it's bouncing off of something way back then. So we're going to pick a time, a foundational time. We don't need to have all the details for this specific event. In fact, we can even make them up. So pick a time when all your siblings are alive. And there you are. And imagine yourself among them. And they're behaving the way they behave, but you are feeling ignored. Are you able to locate such a thing, or at least make it up?
Yes.
All right. Okay. You're being ignored. You don't count. There's something wrong with you. You're defective. You're not lovable. You're not good enough. You don't deserve our love. This kind of response you would have. They may not be saying that to you. They may be in their own world doing their own thing someplace, looking out after themselves, as people tend to do. But you are there picking up being ignored. And in your imagination, let's represent this in a way to unseen therapists. There you are. I'm ignored. I'm ignored. I'm ignored. I'm ignored. What's wrong with me? And in your imagination, just imagine your siblings all talking to themselves, semi-noticing you on the outskirts there, and then turning their backs to you and talking to themselves, giggling, gossiping, whatever they're going to do. But you are all alone, ignored. Can you feel that? Can you say, okay,
Yes.
good. All right. All right. So this is a representation of a foundational specific event way, way back when. Unseen therapist sees that. Unseen therapist knows you're feeling, oh, what's wrong with me? She can feel this, even anger building up. Why aren't you paying attention to me? And she understands that you don't realize at this young age, they're just doing the best they can. They want to connect with each other in some fashion. And while that's not okay with you, it's what they're doing to take care of themselves. If they truly knew the damage they were creating, truly knew that, chances are they would do something else. But at the moment, this is what they're doing. And you're having this. Let me ask you about your emotion. Are you feeling unloved? Are you feeling angry? Are you feeling resentful? Are you feeling guilty? Give me a sense of that, could you?
Probably the worst would be it's between anger and love. It's like I feel hurt.
Okay. So, unseen therapist, and by the way, Dee Dee, this is really going to be a joint thing. We're three of us are together, you, me, and the unseen therapist. Okay. So feel free at any time, if something is coming up for you, to voice it so we know. So it's on the table. Okay.
Okay.
It's a three-way effort going on here. But now unseen therapist sees what's going on here with you, seeing your response to all of this. She's understanding in a way you can't at this younger age what's really going on with your siblings. They're just looking out for themselves and trying to join with each other. And for whatever their reasons, you're not included at this moment, or at least that's your perception. She understands that in a way that you don't have the maturity to do at this young age. So she speaks to you and she says, Dee Dee, you may be perceiving me as being something outside of yourself. God, people often think of God being up there or something outside of themselves, but I'm really inside you. I'm also inside all your siblings. Your mother let me be inside near the end of her life. I'm asking you with permission for me, instead of being your friend outside holding your hand, let me just blend in with you and be you. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
All right. So in your imagination, just let her come in with her maturity now, with her ultimate love, which you're not in touch with under these circumstances. You're feeling ignored. Okay. No love here. Trying to get water from a rock. And that's what Unseen Therapist is saying to you. Your siblings are just like you. They're children of God, but they don't know how to give love. They weren't taught that. It's not their fault. They weren't taught that. You can get angry at them, but you're going to get angry at the rock for not giving you water. They weren't taught that. They don't know how, says Unseen Therapist with her maturity and lending that to you at your young age. They don't know how. So they'll do all these things. The problem is you're taking it on, not understanding that they're your siblings, like you. But for the moment, your siblings are calling for love. She says, people are doing one of two things. They're either exhibiting love or they are calling for it. Calling for it. Let me ask you, are your siblings calling for love?
Not sure. I know they need love.
Okay.
I think they're just numb.
All right. Well, okay. In a way, says Unseen Therapist, that is a form of calling for love. They don't know what to do about it. Okay. So they do their various behaviors, not even realizing they are calling for love. But love is something they really don't know much about. So Unseen Therapist now within you is saying, well, let's just take a look at them, And let's imagine that when they're turning their back to you in this made up specific event, ignoring you, that you were perceiving this as soon as they did that, ignored you, it was like arrows coming at you. We don't love you. You don't count. You don't belong. And so on. Arrows coming at you. And if they really hit you, they would sting, and they've stung in the past over and over and over and over again. Is this metaphor working?
Yes.
Okay. And so now with me inside you, Dee Dee, we're going to slow these arrows down. They're not coming so fast you can't dodge them if you want to. But more than that, we're going to slow them down. And they're going to have a label on them. And it's going to be error, 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 E-R-R-O-R. They're making an error. They're not understanding how much love there is that they could really join with you and get the kind of love that you have somehow or other been able to do more with than they can. All right. So here comes the slow motion arrows. And they gradually, as they come towards you and you look at them through using Unseen Therapist's eyes, they dissipate. They aren't really arrows. They change form. They are little puffballs of cotton. And here they come. And each of these little puffballs of cotton has a set of lips on it and they're ready to kiss you once they hit. Here they come. One on a cheek, one on a shoulder, one on the forehead. Here they come. Kiss, 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 kiss. Okay. Your brothers, your siblings don't know how to do this. But unseen therapist knows how to transform this for you. This is not what they're actually doing. This is to shift your response. So they're not arrows anymore because they don't even know. The arrows are your perception. They're just looking out after themselves. So your perception now are little cotton balls that kiss you. Gentle. Okay. And then we're going to do something else. Here's your brothers and sisters turning their back on you. And these arrows start to come. But as they first start to emanate and leave, come towards you, your mother steps in between. Your mother, not the mother that was critical and abusive as you were growing up, but the mother that you knew in the last moments of her life. She stands in front. And she says, these arrows don't need to be. And they pass through her meaninglessly and just fall to the ground because your mother's love has finally, you have finally recognized what love is. And your mother is now protecting you. And we now realize that what your siblings need is not your anger. They need your love. Not your anger. They need your love. So now we're going to shift one more time. And in this specific event, we're going to go take this anger and the hurt involved, and we're going to represent it for unseen therapists as a unwanted vibration around your heart. Ta-ta, 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 like that. We're not asking you to actually create a vibration around your heart. Just it's in the imagination. It's a representation. There it is, whatever's left of it. I'm angry, I'm angry, I'm angry. I'm hurt, I'm hurt, I'm hurt. It's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. We're going to shift that into they don't even know what they're doing. They don't know what love really is. Let's leave this be. So unseen therapist sees this unwanted vibration around your heart, recognizing what it represents, and then sends a gentle healing breeze that moves towards this vibrating heart, surrounds it with the love. She's sending it now from outside, but I'm forgetting she's inside. So now that she's inside, she's generating this breeze inside around your vibrating heart. She's just nothing but love. And the vibrating heart, ta-ta, 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 can't survive in that love. And so it goes ta-ta, 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 and fades. Now to end this, Dee Dee, take whatever time you need and imagine this vibrating heart being your anger and the hurt, the not so useful emotions involved at being ignored. Ta-ta, 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 ta-ta. Unseen therapists love the cool breeze. It all fades. Ta-ta, ta-ta, ta-ta. So repeat that a time or two or three or whatever you want until you've gone as far as you think you can go. And just open your eyes and we'll talk. Okay. So were you able to follow along okay?
Yes, I did.
Competing thoughts, maybe, things like that?
I was getting dizzy a lot, but no, not so much competing thoughts. I was pretty much with you as when the steps you were going through. Yeah, it's pretty much. I was not feeling as much emotion as I thought I would. I thought possibly that I would start crying and I didn't feel that. It was a lot. It was a lot too, because there's so many people involved. I was trying to group it because everyone's a little different. So it was my mind was doing that a little bit, like, well, he doesn't do that. She, trying to juggle the five of them. So I tried to just go with the big picture.
The idea was at the core, they are all the same. At the core, they don't know how to give love and so on.
Yeah. Yes.
They may behave a little differently here and there, but
yeah.
Anyway, but go ahead. I don't want to interrupt you. Keep going.
Well, I didn't have as much. I kind of was just with it. I didn't experience that much of a up and down. It was more just hearing what you were saying and wanting to accept it and just kind of go with it rather than me control it. I just tried to be there, just be in it right now. Like I really wanted to be in the moment.
Yeah.
Like just be here and don't control, just be here.
All right. Well, let's do a little testing if we can. This specific event having to do with the headstone and all of that, where one of your sisters says, that's a smart ass thing to say. Close your eyes, go back over that in your own mind, run that movie, if you will. And tell me, that was an easy 10 to begin with, but is it still a 10?
No, it's not a 10. It actually kind of makes me laugh.
Well,
I mean, it because it was a big thing to happen, and had I, if I hadn't have been in the anger, I would have responded like the love thing you talk about when she said it, rather than me go to my stuff. When she said it, to say to her at that moment, maybe something to her like, oh, I don't know, something nicer or something. I don't know, just something nicer. Because it was so out there, and my brother had just said it. It was obviously targeted to me. So rather than just to have a different response, rather than I immediately go to protection, anger.
Yeah. Protection's a good word. I didn't use it any place in our session, but protection's a good word. We got to be protected from all this stuff. And anger is a bounce back response. Okay. Well, you went from if I remember it right, when I first asked you about that, I think you even went 10 or something.
It was 10. It was 10 and up.
10 and up. Okay. And you just laughed about it.
Yes, when I was thinking about the first thing when she said, "But that's a smart ass thing to say," I did. Yeah, it was like, what?
Well, okay. Now, all that's a good sign of a good start shift.
Yes.
Good start shift. Okay. Now, we recorded that session. We recorded everything we did here for you. I'm going to send that to you, and I would urge you to go back at least over that. I go over all of it, but I would focus on the session itself, and I'd run it 2, 3, 4, maybe more times, because each time you do that, it's likely to embed a little more, a little more, a little more, a little more. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And hopefully you will begin seeing your siblings in a different light, a more forgiving, a more peaceful light. And as you do that, maybe even hopefully other things in your world that tends to irritate you, and we all have them, okay? Maybe a little lighter. Maybe the anxiety will get better. Wouldn't surprise me. Insomnia might get better. Wouldn't surprise me. If not, there's more to do. Okay, but these are causes underlying lots of stuff that shows up as our lives unfold.
Yes. Yes. I feel better.